Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. So I am so excited by today's video. I have been so eager to get it up, like literally so excited. As you guys might know if you follow me on Instagram, but if not, I attended Makeup by Ariel's masterclass, which she held in London a few weekends ago now. It was amazing. It was everything I thought it was going to be and more, and I came away and just learned so many new tips. Like, he is just amazing. So I just want to just say out there, like, I am not a makeup artist. I have had no makeup training whatsoever, but I found like the products that he uses and the way that he applies makeup like so easy to follow, and he's really changed the way that I do my own makeup, and I feel like I've adapted it and it just looks so much better now. So yeah, I've got all of the products that he uses on Kylie Jenner on a daily basis whenever he does her makeup. I bought everything that he basically said he uses in the masterclass, apart from a few things that I actually couldn't get in England. So yeah, so if you want to see how I created this makeup look right here, and also find out the tips and tricks that he uses on Kylie Jenner, then please keep watching. Okay, so to start off with, one of the first things that I think really surprised me when I was in the masterclass was how he started off. He was basically explaining how he doesn't really believe in primers. He never uses a primer on a face, and as someone who's like always used a primer, I was really like taken back by that, because I just thought, you know, primers were a needed thing for when you do your makeup. So he just believes that prepping the skin with really good moisturizer is basically what you need to do. So he said that his favorite one to use is La Mer, or Creme de la Mer, but obviously you can imagine we were all sitting in the audience thinking, okay, but what if we don't have a Kardashian bank account? So someone asked, thank God, they were like, but what's a budget alternative moisturizer that you like to use? And he said that he loves the Kiehl's Ultra Facial Moisturizer. So I bought that, and it is, to be fair, it is unreal. I do feel extremely moisturized after I've used this, which I'm assuming is exactly what it's meant to do. So yeah, so I'm gonna start off with prepping my face with the Kiehl's Face Moisturizer. Okay, so now I've prepped my skin, I'm gonna go on to brows. So like me, I was very pleased to see that he does brows first. He actually uses the Kelly Baker Brow Defining Pencil. I got this in the goodie bag from the masterclass, but I actually think it's literally identical to the Precisely My Brow Benefit Pencil, which is the one I use every day anyway. So for just my kind of like ease of tutorial and the one I'm always using, I'm actually going to use the Precisely My Brow. This is in shade number 3. Kelly Baker one, it is brown, is the shade of this one. If you do want to use one he's using, I'm just going to go in and fill them in. Honestly, I think he took about 10 minutes. No, that's probably an exaggeration. No, possibly he could have taken about 10 minutes to do one eyebrow. So no, so it's kind of similar to how I already did my brows really, but he just kind of did it with a lot more like care and attention, I suppose. And then the only other thing that he did that was a little bit different is when it came to like the end of the eyebrow, he kind of brushed the product sort of like into the middle of the face, so it had like no definite end. So he was like taking the product and sort of like smudging it that way. That he got that kind of like fade look on Kylie, but obviously, as I say, I can't really do that because my brows are so defined anyway. But if you've got sparser brows at the front here, then you would be able to do that kind of like fade look a lot more easily. Okay, so now that I've filled in both of my brows, obviously there's a bit of product kind of like looking a little bit messy, so this is where he went in and cleaned up the brows. Now I would like to, I mean, obviously, as I said, I am no makeup artist, so I learned a hell of a lot at this masterclass. Even little things like a flat brush like this one here for cleaning up eyebrows is life-changing. I've always just used a little concealer brush, little rounded one. Flat brush has changed my life when it comes to cleaning up eyebrows. Honestly, I'm annoyed I didn't know about this earlier. Yeah, so that's what he did. And so he used the RCMA palette. So I bought this to try it out. So this is the lighter shade 1, and I'll link them all below. And he used the 2 shades at the end here, kind of like dipped into both of them. So yeah, so using this as a bit of concealer, because I actually think this is a foundation palette. The other thing as well, while I'm just doing this here, he used the back of his hand so much to get rid of like excess product before he went onto the face, so he didn't end up with like too much product. Everything was very carefully done. And then yeah, literally using the flat brush, he just went along the eyebrow and just neatened it up and shaped it out, which is honestly like, this brush just makes such a difference. It's so much easier. And then he went along the top of the eyebrow. So once you've done one eyebrow, you're just going to do exactly the same thing to the other one. After you've kind of done your concealer on both of your eyebrows and you think that they're pretty much as even as you can get them. He then blended out the bit of concealer around the brow. Now, I have never witnessed someone spend so long on blending everything. Like, everything was blended to perfection. I mean, this class, he honestly spent about maybe just over 2 hours on this model, but it was purely just because of how many steps there were. But for the blending process, it was absolutely mental. So to blend the concealer, you actually need to use a fluffy blending brush, but more like a crease brush. So yeah, so this one's from Morphe. This is an M441 brush. So yeah, I'm just gonna blend out that concealer. Now, one thing he did use, which really excited me, was he is also a massive fan of the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, which I think is unreal. So after he did the concealer around the brows, he set the eyebrows. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. He said he quite likes to do 2 coats of this brow setter, so he'll do one now and then one towards the end. So now that the eyebrows are done, they're all set and in place, he just added a little bit more of the RCMA concealer to the eyelid as a base for the eyeshadow. And so not too much, but just enough to kind of cover the lid with product, and literally using the same colours that he used to conceal the eyebrow with. So I've just popped that on there and then just using that same fluffy blending brush and just gonna blend that out. This was one thing I found actually quite interesting, was how little product he really used. Even though the Jenner kind of Kardashian makeup can sometimes look heavier, there were certain things, like for example this, where like he had barely any product really on the eyelid. It was just more as like a base for the shadow, but when the makeup was finished, it looked like it had like a good amount of makeup on the lid, if that makes sense. Okay, so next up he did some eyeshadow. So I've just done this eye to basically explain why I'm talking. So he uses obviously the eyeshadow to get that, you know how Kylie always has what looks like a winged, it's obviously not winged liner, it's like a winged shadow look, so it kind of goes up there like a line. For this, he uses a very neutral transition colour. The colour that he used, I've wrote everything down from my masterclass, how weird am I? So the colour that he used, it was from the Kylie Peach palette, and the colour was called Sandy. Now, obviously Kylie Cosmetics is normally really sold out, and I tried to look for the Sandy colour, but it was sold out like literally everywhere. So I was searching around for a similar colour, or like a dupe of that one, and I found this colour here from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is Orange Soda, and you can buy it just literally on its own, which is amazing. And it is so similar to the Sandy colour. It's probably slightly got more of an orange tone to it. It was more of a brown, but it's so similar. You don't want it to be like a powerful colour. He was just saying how he likes his makeup to be very simple, not go too crazy with colours. So this colour I definitely recommend. It's really similar. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not a makeup artist. I've never been taught how to do makeup, and the one thing that I just cannot do, bringing the eyeshadow to create that kind of winged look, I can't do it. I literally can't. Whenever I want to do any sort of look with that kind of like winged effect, I use those shadow shields that you can buy from like Amazon or eBay or anything, and they are amazing. I think they work so well. That's what I'm going to use here to get that look, and it also just makes it so much easier. I feel like takes the pressure away. So I'm going to cheat here and not do what he did. He obviously was an absolute genius and master when it came to this and knew exactly what he was doing, but I do not. So I'm going to use one of these shadow shields. Right, so now I've got that on and I'm looking super attractive. It also feels very weird. I feel like I'm having like my semi-permanent lashes put on. Using a fluffy blending brush. This is also Morphe 441 brush. I'm going to start off. So he started off in the lash line and he kind of blended upwards. Yeah, so just following the line of that shadow shield, he just started to blend that all out. And then he brought the colour also up from this corner there towards the crease. And then the thing that I thought was really interesting is he focused the product and brought it up into the eyebrow like this. So he was going like along the crease and then pushing the product up into the brow to kind of like bring it over to the nose and then upwards. He just said that this creates like a really nice kind of shape and helps to blend everything in. And then just using a little bit of extra product, he just brings it a little bit further along the lash line. I think this is one of my favourite things. The way that he does his makeup is similar to kind of like how I like doing my makeup. No overly crazy colours, more about the skin focus. I just wanted the makeup to just look really pretty. I'm not into crazy eyeshadow colours, doing crazy designs and stuff like that. It's just not me, and it never has been. So I really enjoyed watching him work because it was just the sort of look that was exactly how I would want my makeup done. So once you're happy with how much you've blended your eyeshadow in, I'm then just going to take the shadow shield off, and then as you can see you've got that line, which is what he created, that I just could not create for love nor money without that. And then later on when we go back to the eyes, he blends out the line so it's not quite so obvious, so it's a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to move on to the skin, which is obviously the best bit of this whole tutorial. For foundation, it's no secret that the Kardashians love the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, and that is what he used. He said he's been using it on Kylie now for months and she loves it and they're both obsessed with it, so that's what obviously he used in his masterclass. And the colour that I've got is 6.5. So using a foundation brush, this is Dose of Colours one, I'm just going to add some product. Now he focused the product towards the middle of the face, so when he used the brush he places it like on the face here and then blends it out with the beauty blender. And then this again is like what I was saying earlier, he really didn't use, I'm just using a damp beauty blender by the way to start blending, he really didn't use that much foundation. He had like barely any on the face, but the amount of blending that he did and the amount of time he spent blending the makeup into the face, it looked like he had used a lot. Yeah, I was quite surprised actually with just how little foundation had actually gone on the face. And he said that when he is blending the makeup, he really pushes on the skin. He was laughing, saying he's probably giving his model a headache because he was pushing so much. And then he also made sure it was all blended everywhere, so he took it over the ears and all the way. He actually went all the way down the neck to where the girl's top was, which was kind of low cut. He brought the foundation all the way down, but obviously mine's quite high neck, so I won't bother doing that. But he was literally like, if the clothing goes all the way down to a plunge, he was like, I bring the foundation all the way down. So now I've got my first layer blended in. I'm just gonna go in and add a little bit more to my cheek area just to give it a slightly fuller coverage, because I want to go a little bit glam today. He was saying though that he could literally just blend and blend and blend and blend and blend, like he has to force himself to stop because he would just be there all the time just blending in the foundation. Then using that same RCMA foundation palette, he went in with the slightly darker shades towards the end of the palette here and covered and added a bit of extra coverage to any places that he felt needed more coverage. So that's why this palette's amazing, because you can use it as a concealer but also a kind of like a heavy coverage foundation. So I'm using just a little concealer brush here to add the product to my face before I go in with the beauty blender to blend it out. He also said that this is the point where you could go over any like blemishes with this product and it'll help to hide any blemishes, things like that. My nose always needs extra coverage. Makeup just never wants to sit on my nose, I swear to God. Just put a little bit there and then just blend that product in. I feel like these two products on top of each other, so the Giorgio Armani and then this RCMA foundation palette, you just start to get just the most flawless base. But honestly, it's like addictive. I feel like once you've been told to blend like a crazy woman, now I'm just here like constantly blending my life away. So next up, once you finish the foundation layer, he moved on to contour. He said he prefers to contour before he highlights, it's just how he does it, and he thinks that it's easier to see exactly where you want to put the highlight. He used a KKW contour colour, but for this tutorial I didn't have time to order that and get it in on time, so I'm sticking with my favourite contour product, which is the 24 Hour MAC Studio Fix, and this is the colour NC50. I think I said it wrong in my last tutorial and you guys were asking, so my bad. It's NC50 and it's such a good contour colour. Now one thing he did say is that he does not like drawing lines on the face when it comes to contour. So you know how people draw out where they're going to blend it first? He didn't agree with that because he thinks that it takes too long to blend out and then you're just left with those like harsh lines on your face, which I kind of agree with, because I do sometimes find that when I draw my contour on, I then will sometimes catch myself in the mirror after I've done my makeup and be like, oh, that's actually quite a harsh line. He actually put the product on his hand first and then puts it on to contour, but I did try that actually when I got back and I just felt like there was too much product on my face, so I still do apply it to my face first, but I actually apply it in one place and then blend outwards, so it's not like a line, it's more like a splodge, if that makes sense. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to start with my cheek contour, and I actually start a lot lower down after watching this masterclass, and then yeah, blend upwards and also just focus it on my forehead. So that's where I'm going to put it now. So as you can see, it's like 2 little splodges, and it's so low down. Like, it feels weird, but once it's blended, it looks amazing. Like, it just works really well. And then contouring the forehead, I'm just going to put a bit there and a bit there. So as you can see, it's more like a splodge rather than a line. So when it comes to blend it out, it is actually a lot easier. It makes such a difference, I find. Well, I've really found that anyway. So I'm using this Blank Canvas Cosmetics brush, this is F22, to blend out the contour. I'm still blending in an upwards motion and towards my ear. Yeah, I just think that, I don't know, putting the product there, I just like the way it looks. It just works really well with my face shape, so as you can see, that's it blended, so it doesn't look like it's come like crazy down my face, and it's also helped to warm it up, and it just, yeah, I don't know, it's just given like a nice shape to my cheek. I'm just going to blend in the forehead bit as well. And he focused a lot of the product in the temple and like towards the brow, sort of almost close to where the eyeshadow is, really, like to really keep it all in like one place, and he said it helps to bring all the colours together. He did bring it along the forehead slightly, just enough to kind of add a bit of colour. Okay, so now I have blended majority of it in with that brush. It goes back in with the beauty blender and just goes over everything to make sure that it is super blended and there's no dodgy lines. So now we have the contour on. So as you can see, it's like a really nice subtle contour. So then next up, we're going to do the concealer. So he used, which I've actually bought brand new. They've just arrived today, so they came perfect timing for this tutorial. He loves the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. His colours that he uses are ginger and honey. He mixes them together. He said that it basically creates like the perfect kind of like peachy undertone to brighten the under eye area. Honey has definitely got like a real kind of like peachy, you're not really going to be able to see it, but there's honey and ginger both on my hand there, and honey has definitely got a very pinky undertone. So I'm just going to mix those together, and then so he applies the concealer, but actually kept it to like this side of the face. So he didn't bring it out over here. It was all kept like very close to the middle of the face. And he said it's because he wants most of the brightness like predominantly in the middle of the face, which was quite interesting. Because I would normally bring my concealer like all the way out here, just always have done. But no, he keeps it in this middle section. And then I'm also just going to put a little bit between the eyebrows, which is where he put it. He didn't take it up to, oh, I've got hair stuck to my eyebrows. He didn't put it too far up. It was literally there. And then I'm just going to put a bit on my chin. And then using a new beauty blender, so nothing, so it's got no product on it. He just blends the concealer in. So as you can see, that just subtly brightens up the face, and you've got like a really flawless finish. And then the super brightening comes with the powders, which we'll move on to next. This next step is another one of my life-changing lessons that I learned. I've always been under the impression that when I bake my makeup, I would just literally put the powder on and like a thick layer and let it bake. But sometimes I would do that, and then when I came to swipe it off, it'd be like a bit crusty or something. I don't know, it would look a bit, something just wouldn't look right. And what he basically explained was, because what you've got to do is you've got to set your entire face with powder first, and then you go back in and let it bake. And that way, that baking layer just sits on top, so when you swipe it away, you're just left with the brightening effect without any like kind of like dodgy bits that have like sunk into the makeup. It was honestly life-changing, and ever since I've done it, I just feel like my makeup looks so much more airbrushed and just like 10 million times better. To set the face area, he used the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder, which is obviously Life. He also used a powder puff at this point. Now, I'd never used powder puff before in my life. I now do. I am just using Amazon's finest powder puffs. I'll link everything below. So yeah, so he basically just gets a bit of product. Not too much, nothing too crazy, because obviously we're not baking at this point, we're literally setting the face. He just literally went round the bottom half of the face and the forehead and just sets everything so it's in place. So once you have set the majority of your face, obviously we haven't gone on the eye area yet. That's because he uses a different powder. To set and also bake the eye area, he uses the Ben I want to say Nye. This is the translucent powder in Fair. Now this has such a pink undertone to it, and I feel like that's why it's so brightening. This powder is amazing. I can't believe I've never heard of it before, and apparently this is the one he uses on Kylie Jenner all the time, and that's how they get that amazing under eye, flawless, brightening look, which is exactly the reason that I went to the masterclass, because I was like, I need to know that secret. That was the one thing that I was desperate to find out, was how he did that bright kind of under eye flawless look, and this powder is basically the answer. So I was very excited by that. Using a medium-sized beauty blender, just picking up obviously a little bit of powder first of all, because we're just going to set it before we bake. Apply a little bit and then just go and set underneath the eye. So, as you can see, once you've set your under eyes, this makeup already looks like very, very flawless. You basically want to go back in with the under eye powder, but this time we're going to bake. So, obviously get a little bit more product onto your beauty blender, and then we're going to bake the under eye. So we kept the majority of the product in the middle of the face. So he didn't bring it all the way out here. It's all just very kept here. And then he brought it, as you can see, down the side of the nose as well. So yeah, so it's all in this area, so that's literally where he kept it to bake. Okay, so once you put your under eye powder on, he then went back in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder and a good old-fashioned triangle makeup sponge. This one, again, I got a massive pack of them from Amazon. So he basically bought the product from the middle of the ear, and then focusing it downwards brings it to the corner of the mouth. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with that sponge, but on the other side. So while that is going on, we are going to go back to eyes and finish those off. So like how I said earlier when I finished the eyes, how you wanted to soften the line that was created obviously with the eyeshadow. I've just realised while I'm doing that, I haven't actually baked the middle of my nose. So going back with the little edge sponge thing, just dipping that into the Laura Mercier translucent powder, you're just going to place it along the center of your nose. I'm just going to do my lashes, coat it with mascara to start off with. Now, the mascara I really wanted to use for this was the Lancome Hypnose mascara, which is the one that he used in the masterclass, but it hasn't arrived yet, which is very annoying, but it's fine. So I'm just using this Motives mascara, but because obviously any mascara will do, but that Lancome Hypnose one is the one that he uses on Kylie and Kim and whenever he does their makeup, and it is unreal, so I do recommend that one. Now, he said that Kylie's actually a massive fan of semi-permanent lashes, and he constantly fights against it because he prefers a strip look and all that kind of stuff, but she loves that semi-permanent kind of like wispy look. So he used the Ardell wispy lashes on the model, but she was blessed with the most unreal natural lashes anyway, so she had a very thick lash base, and then he put the wispies over the top and it looked unreal. It was like very textured, very full lash, but I'm not blessed with great lashes naturally, so if I put wispies over the top, they would just look irrelevant. It wouldn't really finish it off great. So I am going to use my favourite lashes, which are the Unicorn lashes in Apple Sours. These ones are honestly unreal. I'm just obsessed with them. They're like very textured and fluffy, so I feel like it gives a very similar look. So yeah, so they look like this. As you can see, they've got a slight wing to them, but they're just like super, super fluffy. You can kind of see when I lift it up there. And the eyelash glue that I'm using is Duo eyelash glue. It's also the one that Ariel recommended and also loves. Okay, so now I've got my lashes on, and before we wipe off the makeup that's baking, I'm just going to go in with a bit of highlight. He actually used one of the Kylie highlighters for this, but I'm just going to use Becca Cosmetics Prosecco Pop. And this one is actually my current favourite. I really do like this. So I'm just going to add, this is also, I'm just using a little pencil brush here. I'm going to add a bit of highlight to my brow bone. And then using a fluffy highlighter brush, this one is my Sephora Illumina 98. And he actually placed this was quite interesting. He loves to put the highlight literally just above the eyebrows, but in the center. So there, and across that one as well. And then literally across the middle. Okay, so now that I've left the powder on to bake for a little bit, I'm gonna just swipe it away, starting with the bottom of my face. So as you can see, leaving that powder on has just given my cheek just that little bit more of a contour look, but in like a really subtle, nice way, so it's not too crazy, which I love. That brush I was using, by the way, just swipe that off, is a Blank Canvas Cosmetics F16 brush. And then I'm going to use a F15, also from Black Canvas, so it's the same kind of brush but just a smaller version, to get rid of the under eye powder. So as you can see, it is a flawless AF and really brightening. I mean, the base now of my makeup is just so set, and it just looks, as you can see, like really airbrushed. I'm just going to contour the side of my nose. He actually used the Tom Ford Highlight and Illuminate palette. I think that's what it was called. I love that I'm going to my little notepad every time I'm double checking this. Yeah, the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate, the brown shade obviously, for the nose contour. But I am going to use my NARS Laguna bronzer because it's a very similar colour and I already had it, so I thought that's just easier. And I'm using another one of these Morphe M441 brushes. I've got so many of them because you can use them for so many different things. And this is where he said that it kind of all comes together, because then your nose contour joins in with sort of the shadow colour, and it all just kind of brings it together really nicely, which it definitely does. But now that's done, I'm just gonna swipe away that powder. And then I'm going to finish off the nose just with my favourite places to put highlights. So I'm just going to highlight the end of my nose and the middle of my nose. And then also using the same brush, so this pencil brush, which is an Iconic London one, I'm just going to do my inner eye highlight now that we've wiped away that powder that was baking. So to finish off the eye look, he said that he really likes to apply a bronzer colour and actually likes to use bronzer to the lower lash line, but bring it slightly further down than probably I would normally think to do. He said it's only because the space between your lower lash line and your cheekbone is quite big, so he likes to shrink it. Basically, that's what he was saying. So I was going, you know, going along with it. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm using, again, the NARS Laguna bronzer, and I'm using a NARS pencil brush here. And then he said that he likes his clients to literally look straight on. He just applies the product and brings it further down. So basically the entire bottom of the lash line is covered. It also brings in the eyeshadow from the crease as well. It works really nicely and brings it all together. So as you can see, this eye here just looks so much more finished than this one. It looks really nice and it just works really well. So once you have got your bronzer on your lower lash line, I'm then just going to use some mascara and coat my bottom lashes. I tried to apply quite a lot of mascara to get that real Kardashian open eye look. So to finish off the skin look, Ariella was saying that Kylie is apparently absolutely obsessed with blusher. He has to like stop from like using too much because she just goes crazy with it. She absolutely loves blush at the moment. So I'm using the Morphe blush palette, and I'm going to use a mixture of sweet and gold. So these two, quite pinky, but they were the kind of tones that he said that he uses on Kylie all the time. When he applies his blusher, I thought it was quite interesting. So he applies it to the apple of the cheek, but he actually brings the blusher like up towards the eye area, which was kind of random. Like not really a place that I would have thought that you put the blusher. So yeah, so he focuses it like right on the apple of the cheek and then brings it up, so like upwards towards the eye. It does actually, to be fair, because I've been doing it recently, like when I've been doing my makeup, it does give you like a beautiful kind of like fresh faced look. Yeah, so you can kind of build upon it as well. Like don't go too crazy to start off with, just add like enough, and then you can obviously build on the blusher, because you know there's nothing worse than too much blush. So now that I have done all of my face makeup, I'm going to set my face. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, wait, you haven't done highlight on your cheeks, but Kylie's not a massive fan of cheek highlight, so I'm leaving it there. I'm just obviously doing the highlight that was on my nose and my brows and things like that. So he set the entire face with Max Fix Plus. And then he also used on sort of like the top halves of the eyes and the cheekbones, the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist, which is this one. It actually brings a glow to your makeup, like it's amazing. I absolutely love it. I got this in the goodie bag, and yeah, this is one thing I would really recommend buying. Considering obviously I haven't got any highlight on my cheeks, I feel like my makeup looks really glowy. I can kind of go without the highlight, it doesn't really bother me. So lastly, I'm going to do lips. For the lips that Ariel did on the day, he actually used the Morphe lip liner in Sweet Tea. Apparently this is one he used on Kim Kardashian all the time, but I actually think it's a little bit too dark, so I'm not going to use that one. He also used a mixture of KKW lipsticks in different shades of nude, but again, I don't have any of them, so I'm going to use my own lip combo that's kind of similar. I'm going to use my absolute fave MAC Strip Down liner. Strip Down is actually very similar to that Sweet Tea. It is very similar, it's just slightly lighter, so I do prefer it. So yeah, so I'm just going to line my lips. This was another thing that he spent absolute ages doing. And he also said though that he doesn't do Kylie's. Kylie does do her own lips. He doesn't go anywhere near them, so she does all that. But he also said that if you're going to overdraw your top lip, overdraw from the center, but then bring it into your natural lip shape towards the corner, and then it helps to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then, like whenever I'm doing any of my lip looks, I'm just going to bring the liner like line inwards a bit. I just like to get my finger and just run it along the liner line just to blend it out a little bit before I go in with the lipstick, so I'm not left with like any crazy harsh lines. I'm going to use this Stila Cosmetics Stay All Day liquid lipstick. This one is in Biscotti, but I'm just going to place a little bit in the middle like so, and then I'm just going to blend it out with my finger. This is just because I want like a brown base for the lips. Then I'm going to use, it's quite a mixture of products, I'm going to use the NYX Cosmetics lip cream in Athens. I'm going to go over the top of this one. This is like a pinky kind of colour. So this is just to bring in a kind of pinky nude to the lip. The reason I put the Stila one underneath this is just because it helps this one to stay, because these lip creams do tend to stray a little bit. But I feel like if you put something underneath it, then the colour stays on better. And then lastly, because I want to go for a glossy nude, I'm going to go over the top with this CYO Plumping Lip Gloss in Speaks Volumes. I don't know if that's the colour. No, maybe not. No, Act Up. Speaks Volumes must be what they call it. And yeah, so I'm just going to go over the top with this. So that is the lip. So it got a really nice kind of like glossy finish, which I'm just living for at the moment. I absolutely love a lip gloss. I've just become obsessed with them. So that is the finished makeup look, guys. As you can see, it's super, super flawless. I'm feeling very glam, but like in a nice way. It's kind of, as I said, it's a day glam. And it is easy to do. I mean, if I can do it, and as I say, I'm not a makeup artist. I've had no makeup training. I just followed along and I've used all the products that he says, and it comes out like this. Like, it really does work. So I'm very pleased that I went along to the masterclass. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed watching me create this look, and that you've got some tips to take away from it and to try yourself. Give the video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this, and oh yeah, I will come back with some more makeup tutorials very soon. But this will probably be the last video that I get up before Christmas Day, so I hope that you all have a fabulous Christmas, whatever you're doing with your loved ones, and I will see you on Boxing Day. I'm going to come back with a Boxing Day video. But Merry Christmas, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.